Hey, what's up, guys? I am Caleb Giddings.
I am Keith.
And I'm Jack.
And you're probably not going to be surprised. On this week's episode of Gunday Brunch, we are talking about Ukraine, and specifically the war that's going on in Ukraine that kicked off. Really, it kicked off in earnest yesterday. We record these before Sunday. So that's kind of what we're talking about. And the first thing we're going to talk about, which I'm just going to kick this over to Keith, because I was researching an article for tacticallife.com about the guns that the Ukrainian military uses. And, no one's surprised that they have 100,000 AK-74s. However, which they're also just handing out to people. They're like, you want the rifle to fight invaders?
You'll get a
Here
74, and you'll get a 74.
The minute I heard this, I'm going to sidetrack us. The minute I heard that they were just handing out AKs to people to go fight the Russians, I thought of that meme, the Lord Jesus, I've seen what you've done for other people, and I want you to do that for me.
So they've handed out 10,000 of them is their official statement, which I'm going to always put in air quotes anything that's official about this.
Yeah.
But I was like, man, can I show up and be like, can I trade in 2 to get a PKM? Like, what kind of exchange? How many of these do I need to upgrade?
Right. Like,
if I collect 4, is that the upgrade? Do I need a special stone? What's the unlock code here?
So what this eventually led me to was discovering that the Ukrainian special forces and their distribution of these weapons through units is really confusing, because I've seen them in the hands of units that are identified as Ukrainian National Guard and like border guards. But according at least to the official documents I could find, the Ukrainian special operations units carry, here we go, Keith,
an X-95 Tavor.
Yeah, chambered in
5.45,
making them the first serious face shooting special operations unit that I can think of that carries a freaking bullpup around.
I don't know why, but the moment it's like, you're like, it's an X-95. I'm like, in 5.45. Like,
I had the exact same reaction. I was like, it's a Tavor, which is a fine rifle. It's great and everything. But then when you're like, in 5.45, hello, strange rifle and an even stranger cartridge.
Strange people in a strange land, strange rifle and strange cartridge. I'm in. Proprietary, you say? Yes, good. Which is one of the reasons why we don't see the 5.45 variants outside of the Ukrainian contract, is because they take a special magazine, and those magazines are a bastard to source. So they don't offer it widely because you wouldn't be able to supply the mags, is what their ultimate decision there is. It's but the by 39 variant existed, the 5.45 variant existed. The obviously 5.56 9mm exist, which was the original 2 calibers that was built in, until Ukraine came to them and they were like, what if 5.45 bullpup? And IWI was like, you know what, game.
Were you guys 5.45 shooters back when it was just basically free to shoot? Because I was.
I had one of the MMP 15s chambered in it, because it was a trash can gun that shot trash can ammo, and there was like literal trash cans full of ammo just laying on the side of the road.
I originally got into it in 7.62 39, which was also cheap as hell to shoot back in the day, but I had not made the great conversion to the poison pills at that point in time. I had not upgraded to the Speedy Boy. I was still an OG. You
were still chunky, slow
and chunky.
My friend group purchased 30,000 rounds of 5.45 in 1 year. And we shot a lot of it, and a couple of guys had the Smith & Wesson M&P thing, and I remember watching them have to delicately modify PMags to try and get them to work, because there was this like a follower cut that if you did it at this precise angle, it would feed reliably. Otherwise, you had to buy, I think they were Seymour's or something.
Yeah, proprietary mags for that were expensive. They did work though. Like, my gun worked. I
honestly, if I could find one of those 5.45 MMPs, I would be really excited to take one of those off someone.
Why, do you still have 10,000 rounds of 5.45 laying around?
I have 20,000.
Whereas I'm sitting on about 1,000 because I was going to pick up a Galil in 545, and then the variant that I want still isn't here yet.
Probably like
just remembering the time when the cheap like Com Block 762 and 545 was exactly that, when it was cheap and widely available. And you had people running around with the I'm actually, most of you guys are close enough to my age that like you probably remember the days of $99 Yugo SKSs where you could go to a gun show and they would be in a crate and there'd be 5 of them, and if you wanted to give him an extra $50, he'd throw in the crate. And you'd be like,
I remember handpicking.
mm-hmm.
I don't think this is it might be like I'm not in milsurp circles anymore because most of the milsurp I care about is gone.
Yeah.
But I remember being told
$99 Yugo SKSs.
Yeah. I mean, AKs too. I bought my first AK for $300.
The good
old days.
And he was like, for $25 more, I'll let you hand pick which one of these you want, or 5 magazines. And I was like, oh, give me the mags.
Yeah.
Like,
yeah, man, those were some good times. Just the days of cheap semi-auto milsurps and cheap spam cans of Russian ammo that you'd slice your hand up on.
Remember when you could get 7.62 by 54R and the Romanian Dragunov, the PSL? You could get it for like $90 for a can of this ammo. It was $90. It was like $89.99, and they're like, if you buy 3, we throw in the can opener, and we'll give you $10 off a can.
Like, say less.
If you've never tried to open one of those without the can opener,
it's
a royal.
You need a Dremel. You just it's terrible.
Our first batch of those things, we didn't have the can opener, but we did have the Romanian bayonets that came with washer tins. And I one of those things with a hammer. I was like, wham! Wham! I'm just like, we're getting these bullets, boy. It's that hour. It was an hour of us like hammering this thing open. We finally got the bullets. It was like the first time you crack open a crab leg. You're like, ah!
And then you go and shoot it, and you're like, okay, that wasn't that's much fun. That was the reward for that.
I'm watching TikToks of Ukrainian dudes open these cans up and belt PKMs while listening to K-pop music, and I'm like, ooh, that's spicy.
Can we discuss, speaking of Ukraine, can we discuss how freaking gangster the Ukrainians are? And this is like, so if you guys, obviously by now we know that the ghost of Kyiv wasn't a real person, like a real individual. However,
hold on.
Wait, hang on. There are Russian planes falling out of the sky with missile holes in them. So somebody's shooting some shit down.
So I'm going to say this.
He could be a real person.
Is the ghost of Kyiv, that story, completely real? Probably not.
Does it matter?
Is there a confirmed Ukrainian ace as of the first day of this conflict? Yes. There is a confirmed ace. I'm not saying that all he shot down was, like actual air-to-air combat. That's probably not the case. He probably got some guys that were in transpose and some other stuff.
Helicopters.
But according to sources that I have to say unnamed, but I consider reliable and in the sphere that cares about aerial stuff, yes, there's a confirmed Ukrainian ace.
So with that in mind,
which is the first one since I ran Iraq.
Right. And the first one in a Gen 4 aircraft too. Which is, I mean, just dick drag, just big dick energy everywhere. So, and to that point, regarding the whole Ghost of Kyiv thing, it doesn't really matter if it's 100% true because it's awesome. And I was thinking about this. I sent this link to the guys in chat before, but go on YouTube and just type in Mr. Worf, Davy Crockett. And Mr. Worf, in an episode of Deep Space Nine, will explain why it doesn't matter if the story of the Ghost of Kyiv is 100% true. I won't spoil it for you, but it's one of the best lines in that show. Go look it up. You'll thank me later. But the Ghost of Kyiv, super gangster. This story just dropped this morning about some teenager with one of the Ukrainian Marine battalions that was tasked with destroying a bridge. The Russians got to the bridge before they could remote detonate it. So he radios his unit and says, I'm going to send it, sends it with him on the bridge. Blows up the bridge with him on it, delaying the Russian advance.
And then there's Snake Island. The 13 dudes on Snake Island. The Russian Navy is like, hey, we're gonna drop it, and they're just like, fuck you guys.
Yeah, literally their last words were Russian warship, fuck yourself. And I was like,
And here's what I'm gonna say. Not a single one of these stories could be true, but if it makes a Russian soldier hesitate for 1 second about stepping forward, worth it.
Mm-hmm.
And now here's the one that's true. And I was talking to Jack about this before we started.
Pro-Ukraine.
Hashtag pro-Ukraine. I was talking to Jack.
If you were questioning.
Did you guys wonder what team we're on here? We were all Cold War babies. We remember when Russia was the bad guys.
Yeah.
So the most gangster one, though, and one that is undeniably true, because there's a video of it, is this little babushka, this little Ukrainian granny.
Little Ukrainian grandma
goes up to a group of Russian soldiers and loosely says, why don't you put these sunflower seeds in your pockets? Fun fact, sunflowers are the national flower of Ukraine. So that when you die on Ukrainian soil, you will leave a beautiful flower behind. I tell you, if I was some 19-year-old Russian kid, I would have just folded up the stock of my rifle, throw it in the river. I'm done. I'm out of this. I'm done with this. Nope, I'm not fighting these people.
Grandma just told me, I hope you die here. I hope you die here.
No, she said when you die.
Yeah, she's not, and she's not angry. She's not like, bah, 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 bah. She's like, bah, 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 bah. It's like, imagine
he's gonna be out there later with the sniper rifle, like, I told you. Whack.
Imagine I'm not angry, I'm just really disappointed, but she's telling you you'll die.
Oh god,
gangster Ukrainian grandma.
Gangster Ukrainian grandma.
Absolutely.
And the memes out of this, and I do want to say, we're not trying to make light of the fact that this is a war, that legitimate people are dying and people are suffering as a result of this. This is,
I've got to say in this front that that's been disappointing to me in a couple of areas, is the fact that, in certain places we're making light of this, and it's to cope with a bad situation. But I have a friend who has a foster son kind of situation where they have a high schooler they picked up, Dima, who is Ukrainian, and they've been calling his folks back in Ukraine saying, hey, are you okay? Are you okay? Are you all right? For the last 2 days. And then my buddy has to go to work and genuinely has been told by people that they think this is a false flag situation, bad actors, and like they genuinely believe this isn't happening. There is no war in Ukraine. This is all just CNN.
Man, I've seen videos on TikTok of a MiG-29 shooting missiles at a tank next to an apartment building. All right, that happened. That's not like CGI.
They rocked that freaking apartment building too. There's a kid crying in the video, like as they're fleeing, like, oh, that was way too close.
I've grown up watching stuff happen on TV. I remember watching the LA bank robbery live.
Samesies.
Like I was a kid, I was sitting there watching, I'm like, this is the weirdest action movie I've ever seen. That MiG attacking a ground target, which I've been told was a tank, because it's a Ukrainian MiG. Russians aren't flying MiGs in the airspace.
No, they're using Sukhois.
Yeah. That scared me. That to see a 4th generation fighter craft below treetops light up its wings and then pull off, I'm like, that's different.
Yeah.
That
real live combat launch from spitting distance, like, yeah.
If you let a Ukrainian person who's living in Ukraine right now buy a beer for the rest of your time on Earth, you are failing.
Yeah, I concur with that statement 100%. It was shocking for me, like, so fun fact, I last night when this all kicked off, I went to bed at like 9:55, and at like 10:05 my phone exploded with reports of, combat action and all that. Really glad I was asleep, because I would have just been doom scrolling Twitter otherwise, being like, holy shit, look at this. But I think one of the interesting things that comes out of it is this is the first time in the modern mass information era that you've had two near peer states with Wi-Fi and 5G and TikTok get into a shooting war with each other. And we are watching it all happen on Twitter Live, on Instagram Live, on, all of these other things. You're seeing people, say goodbye to their families and go get an AK from the Ukrainian government.
The various absurdities that we're seeing due to the fact that this is the first two that we'll call it, for abbreviation purposes, two first world military type nations, two modernized, mechanized military nations in the social media era. There are some just various absurdities that have come out of this, including Russian soldiers, as they're crossing the border, hitting on Ukrainian girls via Tinder.
That's amazing. Hold on, I'm not even mad at that.
That's just one of those absurd things that you're like, wait,
can you imagine?
Realize there's a war?
But some Russian kid finds out he's invading, so he gets Tinder Gold, and you know how you can set a new location. He sets his location to Kyiv, and he starts
being in Kyiv in 96 hours. Let's see.
Oh, that's dark.
That's something that could only happen today. That could only happen right now because of tech.
I'm forgetting her name, but you guys both know that there's an Army unit, U.S. Army unit, part of the Airborne Division, that's a dedicated OP4 unit. And the whole job of them is to be bad guys for when people come to training exercises. They have some YouTube channels for their guys where they talk about the stuff they do, and it's kind of interesting to watch. And one of their guys has a backpack full of iPhones. And he's like, wherever we kind of think these guys are, I ride around to them in where I think they may be nearby, and I start catfishing them on all these iPhones. And he's like, if you have a military photo, I swipe right. And his whole bag is, you look into it, and there's like 15 iPhones. He's like, yeah, we built fake profiles on all these things, and we just swipe them. And then we start getting that metadata, and we can find out where these people are. I'm like, oof.
Good. I mean, that is, people don't understand how much of their information is just out there for you to find, for other people to find. Like open source intelligence is one of the most effective intelligence gathering systems that's available. So bear that in mind. If you're in the military and you're listening to this, maybe, and I should probably go do this, but maybe like scrub your military off your profile, especially your dating profiles, and probably your TikTok. Like maybe
and you holding a fish. Maybe take that off.
Yeah.
It's not working.
I hunt, I fish. It doesn't need to go on those profiles.
I want to see somebody holding up like a dead mountain lion on Tinder. That'll be the one. You definitely won't get canceled for that. All right. Well, we've discussed memes. We've talked about the realities of the war, how we're fighting a 5th generation war with 4th generation equipment. To quote a movie, it's all been pretty conventional.
I do want to say that the Second Amendment absolutely covers anti-tank guided missiles, and if you don't believe that, you're not a friend of mine, right? Like
ATGM.
People are like, this is why we need ARs. Oh, this is why I need a javelin or an in-law.
I definitely want a law, and the law says I can have a law.
I mean,
I truly hope there's at least one Ukrainian with enough like English that when he gets that next generation law, which if you guys haven't looked at the in-law, you absolutely should. It's a British platform that they sent a bunch of those over there, and they're very cool. I really hope that guy pops up and is like, the long arm of the law. just like bails out.
Mercs the tank with it.
Laying down the law.
I am the law.
Yes, the Judge Dredd with the helmet.
We need to send Judge Dredd helmets to Ukraine immediately. Fund. fund immediately.
Listen here, Great Britain. All right, you're sending them the rockets. That's great. Put just one Judge Dredd helmet in every crate. Okay, that's just what you got to do. I'm not in charge of these things.
I need Ukrainian TikTok mill and Ukrainian mill TikTok to I am the law.
That'd be great. Yeah. And hey, how about America? Let's send them more javelins, just more. Like we have Raytheon's like, send them javelins.
It's the greatest gift we've given them. Like it's doing some real work.
You remember how he dropped like the Liberator 45 single shot just like all over France?
Right.
That's what we need to do with javelins. Just,
I don't think there's any boys. Yeah, the difference between that, I don't think there's any record of any recorded kills with the Liberator, but them javelins be dropping tanks.
Okay. I do want to say, because we're probably closing in on the end of this thing, the Ukrainian ambassador to Japan in full samurai armor with a multicam scarf being like, we will fight you. Bro, that is some super weeb stuff. I'm here for it. And I literally got a samurai tattoo immediately upon seeing that guy.
Like, yeah, I'm in.
Fresh.
Fresh. So we'll close on this because I do also want to point out one of the heads of state with some of the biggest balls that I have seen is not involved in this conflict in any way. It's the vice president of Taiwan who tweeted out that we stand with the people of Ukraine and that the right to self-determination should never be taken away by force, which he basically turned around to China, which is looking at Taiwan with hungry eyes right now and went, fuck around and find out.
Bring it.
Thank you. Thank you, Jack. All right, guys, that's it for this week. Thank you, everybody, for watching, listening, liking, sharing, and subscribing.
Big shout out to the sponsors. Shout out to the sponsors.
Banner.
Forgot to do the banner last couple of weeks. So yes, thank you everyone again. Please like, share, subscribe, leave us 5-star reviews on Apple Podcasts or whatever they're calling it now, or leave us hilarious 1-star reviews, because my new favorite segment on any podcast is on this one called Is We Dumb, where they read 1-star reviews. It's so funny. Don't leave us 1-star reviews, leave us 5-star reviews because we're beautiful. All right, that's it, guys. We will be back. We'll be back next week with more.